Oh boy. Okay, everybody. So today we're doing a video on a trapper hack for coyote grapples, and we're gonna make them in a woofer style. We're gonna modify these drags or these grapples so they work more like drags. And the reason I'm doing this is because a lot of new people are getting into trapping this year. I got a lot of them come up to me on Trap Man. They're trying to catch raccoons, and they're new trappers, so it's mainly raccoons trying to pile up coons and fox, gray fox, red fox. And they also talk about anchoring, and one thing they always want to use are drags. They want to use grapples and stuff, but the problem is the really good drags like the saber tooths, like the really new saber tooths from Locklear, they just don't have the money for them. Then we had the older saber tooths. These are made by Clotis, I think. They don't have the money for like the really good ones, or stuff like the tracker drags from JC Connor, another awesome drag. And they don't have money for like some drags aren't even made, like the Highlands plow drag from Gorman. Those aren't made anymore. They don't have a welder either to like really even make their own drag. Like these really simple drags with the kickers, or the pivoting drags. They can't really make their own pivoting drags because they don't have a welding experience. So what they do is they end up with these, and these are just grapples. They're coyote grapples. They're made like a 3/8 smooth bar. They're like $2 a piece, but I can't really blame people for buying them, because a whole dozen of these things is like $26, $30 for a dozen of these. But the problem is they just don't work. So I found out a way that we can make these work a lot like the old woofer grapples. Now, the reason we're doing these on a woofer grapple is, if you look at a woofer grapple, the way it's made, they're made more like to drag. They're made to plow into the dirt. Here's a picture of one on an old wolf trap, and they're made to plow into the dirt, and work much different from a grapple. A grapple is made to like hook into stuff like bushes and stuff, but the way a wolf grapple works, it goes into the dirt and tries to catch, and plow up and make a deep trail. So we're gonna do a video on that, see if we can get it working real good. So in front of us here we have 3 different types of drags, grapples. So on the far right we have just a normal coyote grapple. As you see, kind of lame. Nothing really special about it. Really dull points. They're really wide. Not really much to it. In the middle we have one of my homemade drags, which is a saber-tooth style drag. Very heavy, very nice points. It's got a pretty sharp. And the last one we have is our woofer style grapple, which we're going to make. As you see, it's going to be much better. So basically, it's pretty easy to make these doggone things. All you're going to need is an angle grinder. There are my dogs in the background, seeing what they're doing. You're going to need an angle grinder. My little brother. You're going to need an angle grinder, a piece of pipe that fits over the drag, over the tips of it, and you're going to need a vise. So really, you're not going to need a ton to make it. So just going to compare all these drags real quick. Here's my drag, and we're just going to toss it. This is on 5 feet of chain, nothing special, and we're just going to drag about 50 yards and see what it does. As you see, we're not dragging it really heavy. This is about ankle level. As you see, right out the way, it starts plowing in, it starts catching, and it starts really making a mess. It does clog up a little bit with the leaves, but it stays really low to the ground. And see, that point goes in, and it just, after a while, it just sinks in and it will twist, and it ain't coming out. And I've had coon that never moved that drag more than 3 inches, and that's just to set it. So really, as you see, the trail on it, I'm about to show you the trail on this. is pretty doggone good. So starting out in the sand, you can see that trail going. And it's hard to see on the camera, but if you're looking at this with your own eyes and you're pretty decent, halfway at tracking, you can follow this. This is like Rick James type stuff. You can see it that well, and it follows you right to it. So now we're at the coyote grapple, just stock grapple, same 5 feet of chain, toss it, and same everything. Right off the back, it does absolutely nothing. It just skids. It caught a piece of wood, but it's not making a trail or anything. Literally, it's not doing anything. It hasn't hung once at all. It's just skidding along the grass. And this is a coyote grapple, not an actual coon grapple. And see, even when it gets in like tall grass and stuff, it still doesn't catch. And it just keep going around and around and around, and it just won't catch until it actually gets into like some thick brush, and then it's still pretty subpar. So really, something like this for me is just a piece of junk. So I just toss it and just wonder why I bought that piece of crap. That was $3 I could have bought something else with. And here's the woofer grapple that we're going to make. Same chain, same everything. And as you see off the back, it doesn't do as good as the saber-tooth style drag, but it's definitely making a trail behind it. So it's doing a heck of a lot better than the Rick. And as you see, it's catching, it's jerking. It doesn't go more than a foot without trying to catch on something big in. And this is pretty hard dirt. This is during the summer. We've had 90 to 100 degree days every day for the last couple weeks. So dirt's really hard. Almost all the grass is dead. So quick comparison of all the drags. Here's the woofer drag. As you see, the points are made differently. So when it's laying down, that point is almost directly into the dirt. So the minute it's pulled, it almost wants to do like a needle or a fish barb, and it wants to naturally sink in. See how it naturally tries to cut in there? So once that edge is hooked on, it naturally just sinks in. Any type of little abnormality, it just tries to sink itself in. So that's that grapple. And as you see, it does its job. Nothing fancy, but it works. And I have it in its stock form. The tips aren't right for it to work properly. And as you see, since it's so wide, it just bounces along until it gets into something really deep, and then still it'll just bounce along. And then we have this drag, the saber-tooth style, and just due to its weight alone, it's going to dig in naturally. So that's one reason it works so well. So that's all three of these. So let's go ahead. Well, here's actually the trail from that woofer drag. I forgot to show y'all the trail from it. Now, as y'all see, it's not as good as that saber-tooth style trail, but it definitely cut in, and it definitely made itself known. So yeah, it wasn't as good, but you know, you could really track it decently, much better than the grapple. You can even see the outline even on this crappy camera. So okay guys, so to make this not really complicated, what you have to do is you have to take your regular grapple and we want to bend the tips. First of all, I want to put it in a vise. You can probably hear my mom on the piano in the background. But you have to put it in the vise first. And then we're going to take our pipe, our cheater pipe, I mean, and we're going to place it over one of the tips. And what we're going to do is we're going to bend that tip toward the main beam. So it's kind of tricky to do it, but you really have to cinch it down. And you're just going to pull it to the inside beam. Basically like that until it straightens out a bit and it gets more uniform. And having it like that, we want to do that to both of them. We're not trying to get rid of that bend it has, but we're trying to make it more close. And that's going to give it more strength. Because a lot of people would tell you with these, especially if you hook up to something a lot bigger than a coyote. I've talked to some northern guys from Wisconsin and stuff, and they said they have some really big coyotes. And they said especially the really big males, they've had the hooks actually straighten out when they got hooked onto something solid. So something like this gives it more strength, and it really helps it not straighten out as well. So got that done. You see, you really have to straighten it in, so I have to beat it open with a pair of vice grips. So now we got it more uniform, and it matches our woofer grapple better. So now, what we're going to do now, what I'm trying to illustrate, is we're going to reinforce that natural bend in it. So like I was saying, the hooks are naturally kind of, it's hard for me to explain, but they're built so they point downwards. One of them always points downwards. So what we're going to do is we're going to take that natural bend and we're going to take our pipe and we're going to reinforce it. We're going to do two bends naturally. So the first bend is going to be about halfway down to where it starts to bend, and we're just going to bend in about not too much. But that's going to be the bend that actually we're bending it more at like a pretty shallow degree, but I'll say a 30-degree angle possibly. We don't want it too bad, but we're doing a first bend about 2/3 of the way down from the tip of the point to where it starts about bending, so we can get our angle right. Excuse me. So as you see, we got that kind of crazy angle going here. It's kind of like a horseshoe. And that's what we want. Now we're going to put our points in so they face, the opposite direction of us. So when I'm standing behind it, you want it to be going forward. Now what you're going to do is lock it in. Take your pipe and go down some more, and we want to actually bend it toward us a little bit, just slightly, so it makes almost kind of a see, you have that double bend in there now, and that's going to really help it when it goes in. It's going to help it hook in better. So we're just going to do that to the other end. And that's basically it. Now as you see, when you do that double bend, it brings that bend back outwards. So you need to, once you do that bend, you're going to have to take it and you want to bend it inwards again. And it's hard to explain, but after a while it just kind of makes sense. So I could show you, I can't really narrate it very well, so you just want to kind of watch me do this and kind of understand from there. Okay, so there we go. And for simplicity's sake, that's really all you do. But we want to bend those tips. Well, we're going to sharpen them now. And this is a lot of sharpening, so I'm just going to go ahead and skip over this real quick. Okay, guys, sorry. So, I had to clear my throat. But, actually, I'm just going to use this time for me, y'all just watching me grind to actually talk about these. One thing I get when I talk about modifying grapples to people who use them a lot, one thing I really get is, well, if you modify them so much, you're going to catch in the leaf clutter if you sharpen the points up. They're not going to catch in the brush as well. Really, when you think about it, I'm not doing that much to them. I'm sharpening the points, I'm adding some extra bends, and I'm just strengthening them. So, even if these aren't for, coyotes and bobcats. I wouldn't use one of these for a coyote or a bobcat. You probably couldn't pay me to. Just because of all the fences where I live, I have to have if I'm going to use a drag, I need to stop that animal within like 30 yards, because then it might cross on somebody else's property, and it's just a big pain. But really, with these grapples, the way I modify them, even if they do get clogged in leaves, if you still have all this brush that a regular grapple will work in, these are still going to catch just the same, It's something cool that happened. If that animal's taking off at some pretty decent speed, I've actually seen drags like this, when you modify them like this, like get stuck into a tree. Like they go in like 1/4 of an inch like a nail. So, that's one thing. And, the way you have to sharpen these, while I'm talking about this, you have to sharpen, when you get these, they're going to be cut in a certain way. The tips are going to be cut in a certain way, and what you do is you sharpen on that angle, and you do almost like you want these tips to be super like needle sharp, so they can really get in. But you want them sharpened in a tapering manner, so when they go in the dirt, there's no resistance. It just goes in. And as you see, I'm sharpening from the sides and whatnot. That's how I gotta do it. And should be more sharpening, but my editing software is bugging out right now. Okay, there we go. Yep, I had a slight problem, but here we go. That's basically the finished product. And I will guarantee this grapple will work much better like this, in this shape and form, than it will by itself. As you see, it's super sharp, much deeper points, and there you go. So just a close-up of it. So hope you guys like this, hope this helps y'all, and hope your trap lines are always full. Later.